Hello, and welcome to Getting Going with Azure with DataGriff. And today we're going to be creating a new SQL Server and database, and in the end we're going to query it as well. So the first thing you need to do is navigate to portal.azure.com. Once you're there, click the little hamburger in the top left-hand corner of the screen. Go to All Services. Click SQL Databases. Click Create. And this is going to take you to the basic configuration screen for your SQL database. So the first thing you choose is a subscription that you're going to be creating it in. So I'm going to pick my MSDN subscription. Then we're going to create a new resource group to house our SQL Server and database. So we're going to call it My SQL RG, with RG standing for resource group. I'm going to give it a database name. I'm just going to call it DB1. And then what we're going to need to do is create a new SQL Server to house our database in. So we're going to click Create New. And the server name has to be globally unique. So what I'm going to call this is My SQL EUN Griff. So the first part is just MySQL. EUN, because I'm going to be creating it in North Europe. And then what I tend to do is just postfix it with my name, just to ensure that it does its best to remain unique globally. Then for the server admin, I'm just going to use admin Griff. And then in the password, I'm going to enter in something very passwordy. Then we're going to confirm it. Now you need to remember your server admin login and your password for later when you want to access your server and database. So please make a note of those. The location is going to be North Europe because that's one of the closest data centers to me. So I'm going to click OK. Now we don't want to use an elastic pool, so we're going to leave that as no. I'm going to leave the compute and storage currently as the defaults because we're just going to be creating this database and then pretty much getting rid of it. On networking, I'm going to make it a public endpoint. And we're going to allow Azure services to access this server. So we're going to say yes. We're not going to add our current client IP, but that'll come up later. Then we're going to look at security. And we're not going to start any of this now, so we're going to skip over that. We'll go to additional settings. And what we're going to do, we're going to use a data source sample. So our new database will actually contain data for us to query, just so we can use this as a good demo. So I'm going to click sample. I'm going to click review and create. So we can have a look here. You can see this is going to cost £176 per month with the defaults, but we'll be deleting this database soon after we make it. This is just a demo. So we're going to click create. And this will go off and deploy your SQL Server and database. So this will take a few minutes. Excellent. So the SQL Server is now deployed. And we can go to our resource. So here's the SQL database contained in the MySQL resource group. And it's also on the SQL Server that we created. Now we want to go to Query Editor. And we need to input the password that we put for our admin user earlier. So we'll click OK. Now it says we can't open our SQL Server because the client IP address is not allowed. So on the left hand side, we're going to go to Overview. We're going to go up to our server. We're going to go to Security. We're going to go to Firewalls and Virtual Networks. What we're going to do, we're going to add the client IP that we're on. So click Add Client IP. We click Save. Go back to Overview. We're going to go back to our database. We're going to go back to Query Editor. And again, we're going to use the password that we entered in earlier. I'm going to click OK. And there we go, now we can connect because we've allowed our IP access. And what we've got here directly in the cloud is a new sample database. And if we go into our query and we just say select star from sales LT customer. And if we run that, we can see that we've got all of this information ready for us from the sample database. And we can just do a quick count of how many customers that we have in our sales database. And then we got 847. So that was a very quick run through of how you can create a SQL database on a SQL Server in a resource group in Azure and actually query the data as well that comes along with it. And just to clean up, because we don't want to leave this server running, I'm going to go back to my overview. I'm going to go to my resource group. And because I don't need it anymore, I'm just going to click delete resource group. I'm going to get the name of it, type it in, and click delete. So that's going to get rid of my resources and save any costs that I might have incurred. I hope you've enjoyed getting going with Azure today and creating a SQL Server, and I hope to see you next time.